Tonight, Governor Cuomo stepping into the bitter fight along the rails. The governor says a Long Island Railroad strike could hold riders hostage. Governor's statement coming as both sides heading back to the bargaining table, but trust me, no agreement as we talk to you tonight. Also, Governor Chris Christie, known for making, let's just say, some brazen comments, but has he gone too far in the last few days? And are the remarks off the cuff, or are they all part of a political strategy carefully crafted by somebody on his team? Now, another story here making news. Former Vikings punter Chris Cluey, he's kicked his way back into the national public eye, and this time not for the game on the football field. Instead, he's gaining attention for the battle brewing over why he was fired and his claims it was have to do with homophobic comments from one of his coaches. Does his suit have a shot? Our legal team will weigh in. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And this evening, we begin with a story most of us thought was just posturing and may still be, but we're getting closer here to that deadline here. The looming strike that has rail commuters already planning different modes of transportation to get to and from work here. Well, today marking day 4 of the countdown to the strike here, in fact, under 3 days, and threatening here Long Island Railroad workers and riders in the process. They say, those workers, that they're prepared to walk off the job just after midnight Saturday evening into Sunday morning unless they get a new contract. State Controller Tom DiNapoli says a strike could cost the city up to $50 million in lost economic activity every single day. Well, today, negotiations between the MTA and the union, they continued. Samantha Liebman, she joins us live now from New York with the very latest. Samantha?
Good evening, Richard. Well, talks are continuing as we speak, even though Chairman and CEO of the MTA, Thomas Prendergast, left just before 4 this afternoon. Now, this is a good sign considering the talks broke down after less than an hour on Monday. This is Governor Cuomo demanding that both sides get back to the bargaining table until a contract deal is reached. The MTA and Long Island Railroad unions called back to the bargaining table by Governor Cuomo, who issued a statement saying that both parties need to work continuously to avoid a strike.
The unions never planned on leaving the table, so at the governor's request, we are here to sit back down and try to resolve this matter.
MTA Chair Thomas Prendergast leaving the meeting just before 4 as talks continued Wednesday. Spokesperson Adam Lisberg said not to read into it.
When it's helpful for him to be at the table, he will be. At other times, it's best left to the negotiators from both sides to be doing this work. They're upstairs, they're negotiating.
The new bargaining session comes after talks broke down Monday after less than an hour when the MTA rejected a counteroffer that they say provided little savings. This as the MTA began an ad campaign Wednesday, making the case for their offer.
The MTA offered to up their salary 17% without raising fares or delaying service improvements, by making modest changes for workers who haven't even been hired yet.
But the biggest sticking point has been a 4% benefit contribution for new hires. The unions, who have been working without a contract since 2010, are slamming the ad.
That ad campaign that the MTA launched was an absolute disgrace. You're spending millions of dollars to beat up your employees who are running the system when you should have spent that money at the bargaining table.
All this as the Sunday strike deadline looms and as union officials started arming members with strike signs and picketing information Tuesday. Yet the fact that talks continue, better than no talks at all.
Don't want to give you any false hopes about progress, but the fact that they're talking is an important one for people who hope that both sides can reach a resolution on this.
Now, the unions have also distributed an open letter to passengers at several Long Island Railroad stations in response to the MTA ad blitz. And in that letter, they question why MTA managers aren't making concessions in their own agreements with the MTA, including contributing to their windfall benefits, as they say, but the MTA not responding to that letter. And the important thing is that the negotiations are still ongoing. We'll bring you the very latest developments as they happen. For now, we're live in Midtown. Samantha Liebman reporting for RFL. Back to you, Rich.
Thanks, Sam. Now, as nearly 300,000 rail riders brace for a possible strike, Mayor de Blasio, he is, well, potentially getting out of Dodge. De Blasio and family scheduled to head off to Italy, making stops in Rome, Venice, and 2 towns where his grandparents lived. Now they're getting ready to fly out Friday, which would be 2 days before the looming strike takes full effect. Actually, Saturday midnight is that trigger point here. But the mayor says that, in so many words, that he thinks the situation will work itself out, whether with or without him around.
We benefit from the fact it's July, and I think the amount of travel is reduced in July. We benefit from the fact that a lot of people now, because of technology, can work from home.
Okay, now he said those comments before, but declaratively he hasn't said whether he is or isn't going if there is a strike. But Mayor Giuliani, he didn't take the opportunity to make, let's say, less than loving comments about the person who held his once held job here. Giuliani said on Geraldo Rivera's show that de Blasio, he should think about sticking around.
It was my view that the mayor, it has to be omnipresent. I mean, when an emergency takes place, you should be here. Part that I find troubling is we have this strike coming up.
Okay, so I want to bring in my panel here, and I got Dominic Carter and Andrew Whitman. And guys, I know, and I want to just get it clear, you still think this is all posturing. You still think as of Wednesday at 6:06, this is just run the clock till as close as you can, Friday, Saturday, it'll all work itself out. You still feel that way?
I still do, and I mean, I think we both hope that there's no strike as well, but I don't think there's going to be.
I definitely feel that way. Even stronger tonight, the script is playing out exactly as anyone in politics could have predicted.
Okay, let me give the other side and tell me why I'm wrong. If they were so sure that this thing was going to play out, why the war of ads here in the 11th hour?
That's part of the posturing. That's definitely part of the posturing. I mean, the MTA and the unions, they're not exactly sure. But what I'm saying is, it's already started, point A, for the governor to get involved and for that to be released to the public that he's making phone calls. But each side is going to play its side out. The union is, the MTA is going to run these ads. You got to still go along with the script, each side.
Think about how often we see this in politics where, let's say, a budget deal doesn't come through until the last minute or the last night before the deal's, because you have to go up to the wire, you have to have the threat of everything falling apart and both sides looking bad.
But we've seen in recent years, to your point, Andrew, in Washington, they actually go over the cliff for a day or two just to show everybody what it's like. Does it go that far?
Congress might not be a great example in terms of being responsible governmentally. I don't think it does go over when it comes to the MTA strike. I think both sides realize they have so much to lose, and I don't think either one of them wants to take the blame for that.
And Richard, keep in mind that an area greatly affected by a possible strike is Long Island. Long Island is a key battleground area in the race for governor. A strike is just not going to happen. Governor Cuomo is not going to permit that to happen.
Are you saying the governor's going to swoop in at the last minute and save Long Island and its voters from this strike?
Let me give you 3 groups and tell me who has the most to lose if the clock strikes midnight Saturday night into Sunday morning and there's no deal. The guy on your screen, Andrew Cuomo, or the MTA, or the LI, or the actual union of the rail workers?
Governor Cuomo first, closely followed by the unions. The unions are not going to get any sympathy from the public, and they know that. Management has put 17% raises on top of the table, and you're still going to say no?
We should say a lot of other unions right now, because everybody's in line right now. We all knew this from the minute that Mayor de Blasio came in, and not that he's negotiated in this particular case as a state, but a lot of unions aren't getting 17% over 6 or 7 years. I know you believe, Andrew, you already see the writing on the wall. One gives it over 6 years rather than 7, and those pension contributions do take effect for the new hires. But I'm telling you, I think if the general public who's kind of paying attention more so with each day, if they hear these guys are averaging 80 grand a year, and they're fighting over contributing 2%, not even the old guard, the new guard, to pensions when they're giving more than that, and on top of that, they're getting a raise of 17% over 6 or 7 years, you're right. They're getting Zippo with sympathy from the general public.
I agree with Dominic that Cuomo has the most to lose if there is a strike. I think it would be the MTA and the workers sort of equally getting the blame. I know the numbers don't look good for the union, but I'm not sure how much people will investigate or how much that detail will filter through to people. I think people will just be annoyed by the inconvenience of having to find an alternate way to work, and I think it's a pox on both their houses.
Yeah, I think that we've said this before. It's interesting historically how people would somebody said before, this happened to our parents' generation or whatever, they'd be preparing for this, they'd figure out. A lot of people think, oh, it'll be fine, I'll work it out, I'll go with my iPhone and just figure out some route, that morning as to where to go. It's not that easy. 300,000 people going from the island trying to get into the city or points, off the island. It's going to be hard, and there is no plan for the reverse commuters. There's no plan whatsoever for that at all. So, I obviously hope you guys are right. If I had to bet money, I'd bet you guys are right. But people, if you think that they've got this worked out, that if there is a strike, they'll still figure out how to get everybody around, you are definitely mistaken, because that plan is not in place.
One other quick point. We touched on de Blasio and his possible vacation. If he goes on vacation and there's an MTA strike, that would be one of the dumbest political moves I can possibly think of. He has to cancel the vacation.
Why hasn't he already said, I won't go if there's a strike? Because again, he was pressed on the issue, and some of the staff hinted he might, but he hasn't declaratively said that. Look at what he said this week, and look at what Rudy said yesterday. He's leaving it out there that it'd be worse than Bloomberg when there was a storm. It'd be worse than Christie when he was down in Disney World or whatever it was, when there was also problems up in Jersey. It'd be nuts.
Well, the mayor has already committed to this vacation, so for him to flip. Even though it would look good in the public's eye, but I really believe the mayor's been told privately that we're going to work this out.
Obviously, your lips to God's ears. I want you to be right. All right, when we come back here, we'll go across the river, if you will, to New Jersey, where Governor Christie's really remarkable approach to politics in the last few weeks here has gotten some backlash, and at least this table believes well-deserved. First, the comments about the gun bill veto that upset Sandy Hook parents, then doubling down on those comments, then his comments about gay rights, and now here, some of his comments about pensions for New Jersey, and using it with a summer blockbuster-style ad here. We're going to talk about what's going on as it relates to the Christie Brain Trust.